I'm a moron, so most of the things I have to say aren't really important most of the time, you know. And I like when the guest has things to say, and your stories have been fucking bang on. I love all of them so far. And it's always good to meet somebody who's done ayahuasca almost as many times as they've done psilocybin, because I'm not seeing a lot of that. I mean, it's because people don't know about it quite yet or don't know how to like obtain the experience. But yeah, really cool to see somebody who's also had the experience.
Yeah, I lived in the Peruvian Amazon for about 6 months working at an ayahuasca center.
No
So
shit.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, but it's one of my favorites. I mean, but like you said, Colin, like I like to explore everything.
yeah.
So yeah,
Wow, wow, wow. So you were at an ayahuasca center.
yeah.
Okay. So then you must have some crazy ayahuasca experiences. What was the craziest one out of those? Like what was that like for you?
Mm. Um,
Most impactful, I guess we can go with.
yeah. So many. There's so many. I would say probably the one where I spontaneously stood up, started convulsing, and started speaking an ancient language that I
Really?
didn't know anything about. Yeah, I started speaking in Sanskrit and saying singing in Sanskrit and saying weird things. And I had like this out of body experience and merged with everything that ever was and will be. And like, I mean, it's so weird. It's so fucking weird to talk about because it's like so unreal, but unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was
Now you're
so
getting there.
Unreal Johnson that see, that could be a thing. You can make that a thing if you go
That's
with the
right.
Unreal. That like people were saying to me the next day that they like saw me in their vision and they saw this like white light when they looked over and all this crazy stuff that I was experiencing internally. In my experience, I had several confirmed witnesses say that they were like seeing and what I was going through, which was completely mind-blowing. Like what? Like, I couldn't make any sense of that whatsoever. And oftentimes trying to make sense of ayahuasca, trying to make sense of psilocybin, it's it's almost, you almost can't. But that was definitely like an ego death experience. That was definitely a really powerful um experience where a lot of energy came through me. I later found out that I had like what's known as like a Kundalini awakening. I didn't know what that was at the time.
Can you speak more to that? What's exactly a Kundalini awakening, and how
Yeah,
did you
it's
experience it?
from my understanding of it, it's sort of a energetic activation of all of your chakras, all the chakras that run through your body, and it's sort of, yeah, just like brings you like totally conscious and online with and connected to all of the energy that you have and that's around you. Now, somebody else who's more well versed in the Kundalini could probably explain it better, but that's how I understood it, and that's what I experienced.
That's
Um,
crazy.
Wow, it's like the universe downloading into your soul all at once, and you just feel everything, and you're like, wow, if I didn't know better, like I feel like God was just like giving me the whole universe right now, kind of vibe.
yeah, and like before, earlier in the
Yeah, I've been
podcast,
there.
I was like joking around, like I was like, "Oh yeah, call me God," but I felt like I had become God in that ceremony, and
Right.
not, there's this sense of God as this sort of like biblical, God, man with a beard in the sky, not that guy,
Right.
but the sense of just like everything's amazing, everything's going to be okay. I am complete love and awareness, and this is amazing.
That's
And I had
actually
no form. I was out of my body. I had no form.
Right.
that's incredible.
I've
But
been there.
the Kundalini, it's actually a serpent, and it sits at your base chakra, so it sits coiled. And as you go through these meditation practices, Kundalini Yoga, it opens up each chakra, and the snake keeps going through. And as you do that, like this waves and waves of energy and awakening and knowledge that you don't understand on like why you know it or anything like that.
Cool.
It just keeps happening until it gets to the crown chakra, and then it's exactly what he's explaining, which is amazing. Like
Yeah.
it's exactly
That's how it
that.
felt. That's
Yeah.
exactly how it felt. Yeah.
Yeah, my friend's a Kundalini teacher, and I've done a handful of classes, but
Really?
I haven't gone deep.
I used to do it all the time, and if you don't know about it, it's actually dangerous. You shouldn't do it all the time. Yeah, you can awaken some stuff. You gotta like do it like with a teacher. Like you gotta really know.
Treat it with reverence.
You're
Did
right
you ever
about
get a
that.
Kundalini
Yeah.
name?
You're right about that, Colin, because that's exactly what after that experience, I didn't know how to handle like that power, that energy that came through me. So a lot of shit in my life like crumbled away, because I was so fucking devastated and like
Right.
destroyed.
That's what happened when I had mine. A lot of stuff because you can't handle it, and it becomes stressful and anxiety. And most people turn to drugs to numb it because they don't understand what's happening fully. And that's when you become such a good receptor, and that's why it's important to actually know somebody who's like educated in it, because then they can tell you how to direct the power, and more importantly, how to protect the power. Because I mean, I guess we're gonna get metaphysical here, because entities could like latch on from these dimensions that we explore. They can like latch on and like drain you, and that's what they tend to do. I had 3 around my chakras. Around these chakras, I had 3 serpents that were like attached.
Yeah, I remember
to them.
that.
Yeah, and these shaman like helped remove them during my ayahuasca session. It's pretty cool, actually.
And
it's all about the energy.
Yeah.
And that's where people like Daniel Shan can come in from Tana Integration.
Yes. Majorly important. Yeah. Integration aspect.
Yeah, he did an integration session with Colin during that episode, and it was pretty interesting to see that.
Awesome.
A little glimpse.
I was rocked by that integration session. Like he just like as soon as it started, I was like, I just had a bunch of realizations just from somebody asking just a few questions.
The right questions.
Yeah, he was just like, "What does this mean to you? What does that mean to you?" And I was like, "Am I gonna cry on my podcast right now?"
Yeah, he's got a great presence about him.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
I guess to that question, what do you do for integration yourself, if anything?
Yeah, I think so I journal. I think journaling is really good. I like to be in nature after I have a big psychedelic experience. I like to take some time in silence. And I talk to friends of mine who have had experience and who also do integration work. And sometimes I'll draw, write, sometimes I'll podcast and talk about it. And I'll I'll definitely meditate. Meditation's been like a part of my daily practice for a while, and so I'll meditate on it. I'll do some breath work, and and I'll always keep in mind that I'm not trying to really like solve any problem or really fix anything, but really just to allow space for whatever is to emerge when it's ready to emerge. And that's a difficult thing to do, but that's what I try and do. Yeah.
I just came to the realization that this podcast has been serving as an integration for us with all the conversations we've been having.
Yeah, definitely. Because memories come up, right? As you keep talking about a certain subject and you're like grasping at like information to like share with people, it's like you start like remembering shit like vividly. Interesting. Really vivid.
Yeah, that's a big aspect of it as well, because a lot of the way in which we are programmed and hardwired as human beings is that we have to forget a lot of things just to survive in the ordinary state of consciousness. Can't remember everything all the time. So it's always good to have other people to help you remember as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like from your integration, like what you're talking about, you do a lot of output. It's like you go through the experience, a lot of input happens, I would imagine, and then you go through like a big output period where you're just, I guess, taking everything that you've learned or saw. Like, how does this journaling work? Are you just talking about what you've seen or felt, or how does that go for you?
Yeah, I usually just try and write stream of consciousness, not directly after, but maybe the next day, about the major things that stuck with me. I kind of think that if I'm trying to remember something, maybe it wasn't really, if the things that I remember are clear and vivid, then those are the worthy kind of things to explore. And then maybe other things will emerge as the process goes on. But I try and just get it all out without thinking. So my notes look like an insane person, but I'm just writing, like, this vision, this person, this color, this smell, this thing, and then try and kind of go from there. I think writing it out really helps because the act of actually physically writing with like a pen or a pencil, it really, you have to take the time to do it. And as I'm doing it, I'm remembering it. And while I'm remembering it, I'm putting it into the material physical world on paper with pen, and it reinforces it even more. And then maybe sometimes it's some of the stuff that I wrote down is bullshit, and maybe some of it's really good. And I dive into it more. I think it's difficult to try and choose which aspects to focus on in integration, because if you're having a high dose psilocybin experience, there could be so many things that come up. So I really try and focus on a few of them. And so like really integration is like every day almost, it's like every fucking day of your life. If you're in this, if you're embarking on a psychedelic journey, if you want to be a psychonaut, like integration has to be a part of your life. Like
I guess that's why people like us feel compelled to, start podcasts about it and talk about it all the time.
Man, yeah. You know what? Just as you were saying that, just as you said, like I'm writing this and putting it into the physical world, I was like, oh man, I have to start journaling, because the things that come to us while we're in these realms in this state are important. They're very important. Just like a dream would be important. So you should write it all down, because once it gets into the physical space, it'll teach you whatever it was supposed to teach. Maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a story. It doesn't have to make sense. You could literally write down like cat, lasers, grass, whatever, just anything that comes to your mind. Maybe set a timer. Sometimes I'll set a timer for 5 minutes, and I'll just, I think I learned this from Tim Ferriss. He talked about the good thing to do first thing in the morning is just to write stream of consciousness. Don't think and don't look at it. Like just write it and then put it away. And so I think that's good, because you need space, you need room to breathe. And I think having that room and that space allows things to pop up that maybe would be more significant or have more meaning, because it has more time to sort of fruit, so to speak.
I feel like that's a good practice to do after you like work out as well. Finish like a heavy workout and just like pull out a journal and just write shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
100%. Actually, yeah, that's a genius idea.
You just create those moments like anytime.
Because like after running, yeah, that's exactly what I should do. Right? That's actually a good idea. Man, that's nuts. So you worked in the Ayahuasca Center. What was that like? Were you actually guiding people through trips? Were you just watching? Were you just cleaning up shit and vomit? How was
that? Thank God I wasn't cleaning up shit and vomit, but I was helping prepare for ceremonies. So I would lay out the mats, and I would lay out the buckets and the toilet paper and the ashtrays and things like that. And it was a real learning experience. I basically was just learning, drinking ayahuasca, learning and sitting in group integrations and groups sharing circles and participating in activities like yoga and meditation stuff and different other exercises that help with the process. I was gonna like do a pod, like I was doing my podcast, so I was interviewing people for my show down there, like people that I made friends with down there and stuff. It was just learning. I don't know if I would want to be a guide, a facilitator. I don't know if that's something that really suits me. I think you have to have a lot of patience for that, to do that. I don't know if I necessarily do, but I did learn a lot, and I run my mushroom ceremonies very much in the same style as as I did with ayahuasca ceremonies.
Well, that was actually my next question. When you were setting all this stuff up, when you're setting up how does that actually work? Can you walk us through that? Like how you actually set up for a ceremony?
Your ritual.
Yeah.
Like how I prepare for a ceremony?
Yes, like when you were out there, even your psilocybin ones, like.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is like that, as much as integration is important, like the preparation is important as well. So, they always talk about set and setting. So the set aspect of it and the setting aspect of it, like what mindset that you're in, what setting that you're in is majorly important. So, um, I like to really get really clear as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, why am I drinking ayahuasca tonight? Why am I taking 8 grams of mushrooms tonight? What is the reason that I'm doing this? And so I'll have I like to do like a mantra meditation where I chant Om. I like to get into sort of like that a groove and a flow where we're just chanting. And no, I don't do it all the time, but that's like one of the things that I like to do.
Yeah.
Other practices are like deep breathing practices, similar to almost like a Wim Hof breathing
Okay.
kind of practice. Just really kind of clearing space and moving energy and grounding and finding the center and the core of what I'm embarking on, and having the respect for the things that I'm ingesting and I'm working with, so that I'm doing it and I'm getting the most out of it. I think it's all about really just trying to get the most out of it. So, fasting before, not having, I'm not gonna eat like a Philly cheesesteak before an 8-gram trip, like, so doing it on an empty stomach. And sometimes I'll do some tobacco snuff called hape or rape,
Oh, I've
which
done
is
that before.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Costa
yeah,
Rica.
I've really kind of connected with it. I did some ceremonies with it, and it's
Super
a
cool.
good way to kind of really ground and really find center. 'Cause that's really the mission and the goal, is to make sure that, and then, setting up the setting, making sure that I'm in a comfortable place and that I'm safe and that I have the proper music and everything that I need at my disposal. Maybe if I'm doing it alone, if I'm having a mushroom ceremony for myself, that I at least tell one person, hey, I'm going to be tripping balls today. So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
just make sure that I don't have any, like, I'm not expecting any packages to be delivered or doorbells to be rung or anything like that.
Exactly.
So just, I really want to I want to prepare to take off, blast off, so I can explore the space that I'm going to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sick, man. That's really, really cool. Man, I want to go to Peru so bad and do that shit.
Well, yeah, and I even do it here. I mean, I don't have to do it in Peru. And I use the same practice and protocol with mushrooms as well. I really feel like the model that I experienced with ayahuasca is applicable to mushrooms.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, respect, reverence. That's applicable, I think, to all psychedelics, really. I mean, you can even
Sure,
take some MDMA and apply some reverence to it about what you want to
definitely.
experience, how you want to feel.
When I did hape, my sinuses just drained. My nose was just like for like 20 minutes. It was crazy. And my sinuses were clear for like months afterwards. Just beautiful.
Because they blew it right up your nose, right?
Yeah, they did the whole nose thing.
They do that with you too?
The shoot.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
it's intense. Yeah, I'm a big fan of like the clearing, purging
Yeah.
types of medicines. Yeah.
Yeah. I was so clear after. It was amazing.
Those are the thing, and that I guess that is why it grounds you so much, because of how much it clears you out. Because once you're cleared or purged of all those things, you have the space to just like connect with the earth, I guess we could say.
Yeah, you're totally right. Connect with yourself too. It's just all the bullshit that you have layered on yourself, stories, drama, problems, issues, identities, it's just vanished.
Yeah, I noticed that, like, sometimes you just have too much chatter. Like, I'm always like listening to podcasts or listening to myself or editing something, and like sometimes it's just good to like not have anything be playing, not have anything be going on, and just kind of like let your mind just talk to you about like what you've been putting to the back of it,
Totally.
Have you ever done a trip with like a blindfold on and just like
Yeah.
headphones? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Have you already shared one of those stories, or do you want to share what that was like, go being inside of your own head and nothing else?
The spaceship.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, with psilocybin, I've done it but what's coming to me now the most is my ketamine journeys. I really like ketamine. I think ketamine, for whatever reason, is very psychedelic for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a ketamine psychotherapy institute to partake in high dose ketamine journeys, and blindfold, kind of Zen garden music, and a psychotherapist sitting next to me, kind of guiding me. And that was a very therapeutic and healing experience for me. I've done psilocybin with ketamine, which
Ooh,
is very
wow.
nice as well. Ketamine. Are you guys have any experience with ketamine?
I have
Personally, no.
zero experience. I've seen people take it, but I've never done it myself.
Yeah, so it's classified as like a disassociative, um, and the way it really kind of, when it comes on, you get really numb, and I get really giggly. But when I was taking in these very high doses and basically going to what they call a K-hole space,
Yes.
which is, it's a similar it's like all these realms are kind of similar, except for maybe the DMT realm. That's completely alien. But
Mm.
the ketamine realm is this, it's almost like I'm in this blank canvas of a space, and I can really paint it whatever I want. And so I found it to be really therapeutic with the blindfold on and doing it in that way. A lot of people, I've done MDMA in that way as well. I didn't do it guided, I did it by myself.
Right
And
on.
I've done psilocybin in that way. But oftentimes when I'm on psilocybin, I don't want to be like tied down to anything. I don't want to have anything over my eyes. I don't want to have any headphones on. I want to be like tactile a lot of the times when I'm on psilocybin. Like I feel the need to move. I feel the need to speak, and yeah,
That's how I
it-
am too. A
yeah,
lot of the time, like I want to actually like talk to people, and well, not talk to too many people, but like I want to actually like let all my senses just like kind of run wild, like in the real world, you know, and do
yeah.
stuff. I like to work. I'm different that way. It's weird.
I'm
I don't know why.
like 50-50. Sometimes I like to do a nature walk, usually on less. When I do more,
Oh, that's great too. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, if I do more, I like to sort of stick to myself. I can't talk so much, but I'm definitely like active. Like you said, I'm kind of antsy. It's hard to get me to stay in one place, but I've been practicing that more recently.
Yeah, yeah. I remember doing mushrooms with this guy a bunch of times, allegedly, and I would look over and he'd be
This
like,
is all allegedly, by the way. I'm just telling
Obviously.
stories here. None
Yeah,
of this is,
what? This is performance art.
yeah,
But yeah,
storyteller.
he'd be like standing on a ball, like balancing on a ball. And I'd be like, all right, I guess he's cool. He'd just be like doing things, and I'd be like, oh man, I can't move. But as I got more experience, I was able to like move around more and think more.
Yeah, I kind of feel like as long as you're not freaking out and having a panic attack, that moving, it's a way of moving energy, moving the chi, moving the, you know, I think that, but if you like the last psilocybin trip that I had, I actually wound up just like sitting in the lotus position, like in a meditative position for like an hour and a half, which
Wow.
I never would have thought that I would have done. But
Yeah.
that was just something that felt like it needed to be done. Like I just felt comfortable doing it. So I'm a big fan of just like going with what you feel is the thing to do. And, sometimes maybe you want to feel like you want to go for a walk outside. So that's why the setting is so important, so that you can be in a safe and secure environment. Maybe you go outside into a backyard and it's cool. So yeah, it all depends. And then obviously if you're really overcome with a lot of craziness, then it's good to kind of try and get yourself back down to a calm state. But
Yeah,
anything else is perfectly acceptable.
true. Yeah, man. I actually just had a question pop into my head because you say that you run a psilocybin circle. Am I understanding that right? You like do your own kind of retreats?
For myself,
Okay.
yeah.
So when you were working in the actual center, you must have like stumbled onto a lot of people who are doing things for the first time, I would imagine. Like,
Yeah.
oh shit, yeah. How would they actually how would they prepare those people who are like stepping into these realms for the first time? What would they actually like tell them? You know, like, how would they go into it?
Yeah, I think the main thing is like not to have any expectations, to really clear any expectations that you might have or thoughts in your mind about what you're trying to do or get. To really just, I mean, as Ram Dass says, be here now, right? I mean, that's a great little piece of advice. But aside from that, just also making sure that you're kind of cleared physically. So for ayahuasca, for example, it's like no salt, no sugar, no red meat, no alcohol, no sex, like 2 weeks prior to drinking. So you're really, what you're doing is you're really opening yourself up by clearing a lot of potential blockages that could distract or get in the way, to really allow the medicine to work fully through you. And like with really, I mean, with psilocybin, I mean, I think it's similar, but I don't go that overboard with it. I just try and make sure that like the day before I'm not doing anything that's like, I'm not going out and drinking 100 beers and stuff like that. So just getting your mind right and just preparing yourself and making sure that, because you want to get the most out of it. So I think that if you're really sort of cleansed, I guess, I don't know,
Yeah.
that you would really feel the full impact of what you're taking.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Because I've always said the body's like a receiver. It's like an antenna, and like the better you eat and the more you stay away from things that you might be allergic to, the better you can like send out signals and receive signals. So
Totally. Yeah.
Probably the same vein.
So what's your frequency of doing mushrooms? Is it like a once a year ritual or?
So I'll microdose here and there. Like I used to follow that kind of protocol, but now I just do it whenever I wake up in the morning and I feel like, oh, maybe I need a microdose today to kind of get things moving. I'm not feeling so good. And I try and do like a big dose with every season change.
Ooh.
And I like to do them on like a full moon if I can.
Solstice?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're going to cults a little bit, eh?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Very nice.
So you do it on. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I like to invoke the sort of occult magical ritual style of, merging with the indigenous ceremonial style, merging with the Mike Brighatelli Western making shit up style, yeah.
Yeah, right. It's all part of like paying that reverence, I guess,
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Man, you've done a lot. I like people who have done a lot of ayahuasca. Well, just because it's the one realm that I haven't gone into a lot, so like when I hear people talk about it, it's like really cool. Like,
Yeah,
because I only did it once myself.
I've never done ayahuasca or DMT. I've done acid a couple times, but mostly mushrooms. Some salvia. Have you ever done salvia?
You know what? I never have.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I never have. My approach, and I think it's just, do what you feel called to. I think that's what my approach is. Like I never felt the calling to, I got to do salvia, for whatever reason. Maybe one day I will. So I'll just try and listen to that. Same thing with 5-MeO DMT, Bufo, Toad. I had an opportunity to do it once, and I just thought, why am I doing this? I don't know, just to do it. And I know how powerful these things can be too. So, I've had a lot of experiences where I felt like I wasn't going to come back or, and so I'm like, I don't necessarily know if I want to start worshiping a frog, toad. But yeah, I just kind of feel like whatever you feel you're called to, don't feel any pressure, like any need. Totally. It's not like a race. It's not a hierarchy. It's not like, I've done ayahuasca 100 times. So, you have to do it, or you can't talk to me. It's like none of that shit. Anybody that talks that way, I don't listen to them. I think that the psychedelic experience, the value of the psychedelic experience in and of itself, for whatever psychedelic you're doing, is that it dissolves borders and boundaries, and it introduces you into a larger world with new eyes and new perceptions and new ideas. And that in and of itself is the value, no matter what you're taking, I think.
Yeah, totally. I figure I have my whole life to, explore DMT and ayahuasca and all these fun things. I don't have to rush until the time is right.
Yeah, wait for the moment when you feel like, oh my God, I really want to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Because that's how I stumbled onto DMT. Somebody had it, and I was like, I really want to do it. And I grabbed the pen from their hand, and I huffed on it 3 times and laid down. And that was it.
Sounds like a synchronistic experience.
Yeah, like I really wanted to do it, and all of a sudden we were just like at this party, and he was just like, "Yeah, this is what this is," and I was like, "Oh, I want to do this."
Yeah, people message me all the time, where can I get DMT and where can I get mushroom, and I can't tell them. Like so I say the same thing that I say all the time to everyone is when you're ready, it'll find you.
Nah, that's a great answer.
Which is like, it's kind of true, actually.
It is true.
Yeah, totally.
And then someone messaged me back, and they're like, I've been waiting, and it still hasn't found me. I'm like, well, keep, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
That's really funny.
That you know what? There's so much truth to that statement when people say that, because like the first time I even did mushrooms, it was like I was ready. I was at a point where I just cleared out a horrible relationship, and I was open to things. I was feeling good, and then all of a sudden it showed itself in like the oddest way, just out of nowhere.
That's perfect. Yeah. Well, Mike, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us on Talking Mush.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Man, it was actually an incredible conversation. This is the second time I've heard about Ram Dass's book, which means I'm being called to read that book. So I gotta get on that now.
I've been listening to a lot of Alan Watts, but I think I should be listening to some Ram Dass myself too.
Right.
I actually just had him referenced, I think, yesterday during a podcast I was listening to. I think it was on The Portal. Have you checked out The Portal?
Eric Weinstein?
Yeah, Weinstein. Yeah. He had Brian Callen on, and I think they were talking about Ram Dass. But
there you go.
Yeah.
Ram Dass is one of my favorite teachers. Yeah, so is Alan Watts. If I could recommend an audio book, it would be Experiments in Truth with Ram Dass. It's just a series of lectures from like the 60s to the present, like when it was recorded, I think in the 90s, or when it was put together in the 90s.
Awesome. Check it out.
Yeah, Experiments in Truth.
Thanks.
And this musician, East Forest, who I had on my show, mixed new recordings with Ram Dass over music. That's actually really good.
Awesome.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that.
Cool. We should check that out.
I like that a lot. I have a thing where I think like when music plays and you're hearing things that are meaningful, I think there's like a thing that happens in your brain. A little decoder thing happens.
Yeah.
It definitely helps make them seem more meaningful. I'll tell you that much.
Definitely.
But I think it actually does bring more meaning to it, to like anything you're listening to.
Magnifies it.
Yeah, it needs to
You have anything to plug, Mike? Tell everyone about your podcast.
What's happening with you?
Yeah, so my podcast, Mikeadelic, you can find it everywhere: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all the familiar places, YouTube. Yeah, just follow me on Instagram, Mikeadelic_podcast, and my website, mikebrank.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Amazing, man.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having this conversation with us and sharing all these experiences. This has been actually a really good one.
Yeah, it was a great chat. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome. We hope to do it again with less audio issues. Sorry everybody, for the random cutouts that are probably going to happen. But keep you posted.
No problem. Happy to do it. Yeah.
This is Michael Johnson, Mikeadelic / Unreal Johnson.
With a Y. With the Mikeadelic. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I'm Colin Cummings. That was Talking Mush.
Peace out.
You can wave too, Mike. They can see you. Wave.
Peace.
10 seconds.